that up.
Related to this, of course.
Yeah, I want to bring this up related to this.
Well, okay, so while you're looking for that,
Yeah.
I mean, if black people and white people don't really live together, unlike here in beautiful Maplewood, South Orange, where there's diversity. Segregated places or all black places or all white places. We're saying that all the fear that people have of black people is coming from television.
Yes.
And that there are no true friendships among black people and white people.
Now, think about this. Whenever you hear they try to compare, they talk about good black people. Well, Oprah Winfrey made it. And Bill Cosby made it just before Bill, got into his problems. Oprah, they call like about 4 or 5.
And Obama, even though he's half black. Yeah.
4 or 5 black individuals made it. I said, well, they made it. They made it. So what are you complaining about? But what about all the millions of others that have been crucified, vilified, sentenced to death in prison, and then they weren't even in the time zone when the crime was committed? It happens all the time. And but remember, you said you don't tell your son when the police stop him what he should do. There's a class that given to black males that tells you how to deal with the police. And when the police stop you and you're a black male, silence is the best thing. Don't say anything. My friend tells me an innocent, a guilty man always has a story. A guilty man always has a story.
But people also say that about silence. That silence means you're guilty.
No.
Or if I plead the fifth, that means that you have something.
But that's okay. At least I'm not gonna convict myself. Because if I say something to you as a police officer, right, you're gonna construe that however you want to and use it against me. So if you officer, you can't search my car. If you want to search it. But you see, video cameras have done us really great today. It really have done us significantly great in that now all these things are coming to light. All these things are coming to light because the police knows now. And then you know what? The police really don't care. They don't care.
So it's all about the relationship with the police. Did you see what I posted on how many black people are arrested in each town? It goes through the whole country and you can zone in. Now, of course, there are going to be more black people in East Orange arrested than white people because East Orange is a black town, or in Irvington. But you can zone in on any of those towns and it'll tell you the ratio of black people to whites who have been arrested. I don't know. I think it's... Are we afraid of each other? When you see a bunch of teens...
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe we are afraid of each other. I don't believe that. I believe what has happened is that if you see a suspicious person in the neighborhood, it doesn't matter if he's white, black, pink, or blue. He's suspicious. If I see a car parked in front of there, I don't care what. I'm not looking to who's sitting in the color of the car, what color the person is. If the car looks suspicious, I'm gonna call the police. I don't care if it's a green man from Planet. I don't care about that. You see, but people think that, and that's the excuse that they give. I think here is the article. Oh no, that
Which article are you looking for?
Well, there is a new words. Okay, here we go. Here we go. It's called the N-word updated. 6 code words that often mean the same thing. It's the N-word updated. Normally I have all of these articles, but sometimes, we just can't.
Just waiting in reserve to come out.
It's called thug.
Thug?
Thug. As Richard Sherman pointed out after receiving criticism about his post-Super Bowl interview, it seemed like thug is the acceptable way of calling someone the N-word nowadays. Substituting the word thug doesn't disguise the negative association with black people. And if you hear in sports radio, a lot of the white commentators call the black, when something happens with a black sports person, athlete, he's a thug. He's a thug. You're not going to hear them calling Manning a thug. You're not going to hear them calling Eli Manning. I mean, you know, those are the Eli Manning or Peyton Manning a thug. They don't call them that. They reserve something different for them. It's like when they used to have the quarterbacks before they started to have black quarterbacks. They used to say, oh, these quarterbacks are very intelligent. You know, they're very good at reading the plays.
And that wasn't too long ago when they didn't have black quarterbacks.
You know, that it wasn't too long ago.
A couple years ago.
You know,
because it was like.
And for a black quarterback, they would say, oh, he's very athletic. You know? he's a very athletic quarterback. You know, it's not that he's intelligent, but he's athletic. You know, they reserve the athletics for their boys. And I hear it in the media all the time. I hear these guys on ESPN radio. I mean, the bunch of, you know, and they will say, oh, that's not, I didn't mean anything by that. But who gives you the right, I'm pointing at Marjorie now, to call someone a thug? Who gives you the right to do that? Who gives them the right to
So it's a code word.
Yeah, it's a code word. All right. You know what? I'm a listener. And for what you thinking, I think you're a racist. Right? If you can take liberty to call somebody a thug, right? Why can I take liberty to call you a racist? And that's it's the same exact thing. So they use these words. And then
these words affect the psyches of everyone, and then everyone is afraid.
And then people start to repeat it. Oh, yeah, he's a thug. Yeah, he's a thug. Yeah, Michael Vick, you know, he's killing all those dogs. You know, he's a thug. Did you see what he's doing? Ray Rice is a thug. He's beating up his wife. Adrian Peterson is a thug. He's beating up his kid. See? And after you start here, because you got the media now. Here's another one. Urban inner city. He's from the urban inner city.
Yeah.
Right? He's from the urban inner city. He's not just from the urban, you know. It's urban and inner. You know? It's like there's an outer city, you know. There's an inner city and there's an outer city. You know, if there's an inner, there must be an outer, right? So this is how they're going to do it now. Urban and inner, suburban and outer. You know? Yeah. Black community is often referred to as urban or inner city when people are comfortable talking about black people or where they live. Right? I mean, these things are true. These things are true.
Well, you know what? Now, but who believes this stuff? Not only white people, though, but black people internalize those things as well.
But I don't believe those stuff, though.
No. I'm not talking about you and I, but I'm talking, like, I've had a student to, you know, just this week, you know, I'm teaching them this word urban, and the word urban means city. And they said, so what's outside of the city? And then, you know, somebody writes suburban. And then another kid says, well, that's where the white people live.
Media.
I'm like, look at it. I'm like, I almost start crying. You know, I mean,
but that comes from the media, over this.
Only white people live in the suburbs?
No, but that comes from the media. You didn't hear your parents say that.
No, because I grew up there.
Right. So, what I'm saying, my son didn't hear me say, oh, it's the black people living over there and it's the white people living over here. That's from the media and what his friends are saying. So it's like you look at the television. That's why I don't look at news. I don't want to look at news. I don't want to look at it because I know they're reporting this because CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, MSNBC is who can glamorize the news more to get more watchers.
Right.
And distort the news more to make it even scary that people are going to say, man, did you hear what happened?
Yeah, that's how people were over the summer with Ferguson. They were watching it and then they were getting afraid.
Yeah, what? Man, you got to bring all these vehicles. These people are crazy. This is madness. Why are they doing that?
No, for ratings.
Well, let's continue.
It's another word.
State rights. During the civil rights movement, politicians usually racially coded appeals and words such as state rights to try and capitalize on the racial anxiety during that time. That was a little far back. That's a little far back, right? But I like the one thug. And I hear them using it quite often. And they don't use it with people that don't look like you and me. You know, even when they committed some type of crime. Here's the next one. And they have the U.S. Department of Agriculture food coupon, welfare and food stamps.
Oh, that only applies to black people. Right?
Yeah. When President Lyndon Johnson wanted welfare to include a racial component, it became possible to associate welfare with helping minorities. The same stigma is used with food stamps today. When Newt Gingrich called Obama the food stamp president, everyone knew what word he was really using. You see, these guys know what they're doing. This is not new stuff. But you see, what it is that, you know, instead of you going to talk about this book at the Woodland, educate me about this. I don't want to go and hear a book. Well, you know, you can.
All right, let's keep going. We only got a couple more minutes.
You know, well, you can. I wrote this book. If you go to buy my book, you're going to read about how we can close the achievement gap. Well, listen, we have had that problem in this community for over 15 years. What is the book going to do to close the achievement gap? What? Buy the book? If you want to buy the book, all right, listen. I get Bill Gates to buy 10,000 of the book. What's that going to change? So welfare and food stamps. We know that.
Well, what percentage of white people are on food stamps?
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up while you're going ahead.
I don't
listening.
know. But it's a large percentage.
Yes, because they're the dominant population right now.
Now, here's another one. Law and order. During the civil rights movements, the opposition said that law and order was needed to handle the racial tension and civil rights protests. In other words, we need to control the blacks. Law and order. That's what we're doing today. Stop and frisk. Law and order. Law and order. We're going to come into your neighborhood and we're going to frisk you and we're going to stop you. We don't, listen, you just an accessory to the crime. Okay? Even though we stop you 100 times, we don't charge you with any crime, we are reducing crime. Right? And what's the last one? So law and order now.
Right.
We want law and order across the United States of America and across the world.
And that's the excuse to stop and frisk
and
drive, stop people while they're driving and because they're black. And
DWB. You know, DWB. You know what DWB is?
Yes, driving while black.
Yeah. Last one. Cut taxes. Making the poor and people of color sound more threatening, cutting taxes have long been a racial code for not using taxpayers' money to help black people and brown people. Yeah, think about it. You think?
I hear these things all the time. They are codes. I hear them a lot in Staten Island. Surely,
you hear them. We're gonna cut taxes, man.
Taxes are too high. We're spending too much money. But they're not thinking about the taxes spent on the military-industrial complex or any of the other things that have, don't help or assist people. They're only thinking about them when it comes, Marjorie, to the entitlements.
But Marjorie, we hear these things. And we don't put we don't sit back and say, man, like if you tell a person cut taxes, if it's man, what are you talking about? That means to say I'm paying less taxes, less income tax when I get my check, man. I'm paying less income taxes. But you see, it's not using taxpayers' money to help black because that's how you use the money.
One of the many ways.
One of the many ways for social programs. So if you're cutting the taxes,